Well, LeBron James and unabashed LeBron James jock sniffer JJ Redick have come together to predictably start a podcast. Predictable since in this digital day and age, everyone has a damn podcast, and even the insufferable king of self-aggrandizing who uses the full weight of his already enormous platform to bludgeon us with his embarrassingly fraudulent claim on the GOAT title needed more. Yes, he needed more, and it was time to build a propaganda pod with JJ Redick, where the aim is to cozy up with one another over a nice glass of wine and to talk basketball.
I think the goal of this show is to really just talk about basketball.
But don't be fooled. The real goal of this podcast is to amass a monstrous platform of disinformation to act as LeBron's revisionist take on his own career, so that he can soak the young, dumb, impressionable minds with more lies. And in episode 3 of the Mind the Game podcast, it has already begun. James and Redick were talking about the Miami Heat super team, though Redick takes exception to that term.
The phrase super team or the term super team is a little bit of a misnomer.
See, it wasn't until head coach Erik Spoelstra really unlocked their potential, and James made certain to credit Spo.
Spo is the reason why we were a better team.
Except, of course, for the fact that LeBron James wanted Spoelstra fired at the time. And that is according to Heat team president Pat Riley himself, who said as much on record in the Ian Thompson book, The Soul of Basketball. LeBron and JJ, though, would go on to discuss how, wait for this, LeBron didn't have enough help that first season in Miami.
We didn't have enough complementary guys to actually make it all work, and we still made it to the finals.
And this really is an absolutely breathtaking admission, since it was obviously a massive super team which was put together in a fit of sheer desperation as a response to Kobe Bryant absolutely demolishing the NBA at the time with only one other All-Star. And this is especially noteworthy because Kobe Bryant was the direct era-specific comp to LeBron. And Kobe was doing things at the time LeBron couldn't. Things that LeBron could only dream of. Things that LeBron needed to break the competitive balance of the sport and amass a super team to do. And we know as much because Dwayne Wade admitted it in a recent roundtable discussion.
I remember cutting my TV off as soon as Kobe ran and grabbed that ball. I was like, LeBron.
All right, LeBron.
So what you gonna do? That was our summer free agency. They were dominating. Kobe was winning all these rings. I was like, wait, hold on. Now he got 5 and we got 1? No.
And in the 2008 playoffs, when the Lakers got to the finals and lost to the Celtics, Kobe Bryant averaged 30 points per game for that postseason, while Pau Gasol, the second leading scorer on his team, averaged 16.9 points per game for the entire playoff run. Though you didn't see Kobe whining and begging for more help afterwards, as the Lakers would make no significant changes to that roster that offseason. The following year, Kobe won the NBA title, again averaging 30 points per game in the playoffs. His second leading scorer in that postseason was, again, Pau Gasol, who averaged 18.3 for that postseason. Oh, and the third leading scorer for those playoffs was Lamar Odom, who averaged 12 points per game. You know, Lamar Odom, who in his 14-year NBA career never made one single All-Star appearance and was selected to 0 All-NBA teams. And it was more of the same in the 2010 playoffs, as Kobe again was outscoring all of his teammates by 10+ points per game en route to winning a second straight title, the 5th of his career. And even in those first 3 titles, where everyone is quick to point out that Kobe was carried by Shaq, Kobe went to 4 NBA Finals with Shaquille O'Neal, winning 3 consecutive. And in those 4 playoff runs, Shaquille O'Neal averaged 27 points, 14 rebounds, and 3 assists per game, while Kobe Bryant, over the same span, averaged 26 points per game, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. And for that three-peat, which is only the third time in modern NBA history a team won 3 consecutive titles, the Lakers weren't a super team. They didn't have a big three. It was Shaq, Kobe, and little else. The third leading scorer in the last 2 titles was Robert Horry and Derek Fisher at 9 and 11 points per game. The two of those players in 34 combined NBA seasons made a grand total of 0 All-Star appearances and had 0 total All-NBA selections. Yet in 2011, LeBron just didn't have enough help.
And everyone said it's a super team this, super team that. But we had to build our team around all minimum guys.
In that postseason run, LeBron averaged 23.7 points per game, while Dwayne Wade led the Heat in scoring during the playoffs at 24.5 points per game, and Chris Bosh averaged 18.5 as the third option. Perennial All-Star Chris Bosh, who was named to 11 All-Star teams in his 13-year career, was dropping nearly 19 points per game in the playoffs as the third option, and it just wasn't enough help for the, at the time, back-to-back league MVP LeBron James.
We didn't have enough.
Clearly it wasn't enough help, as the Heat blew a 2-1 lead in the NBA Finals to a Dallas Mavericks team with 1 lone All-Star, a series where they had a 9-point lead in the fourth quarter of Game 4 to take what would have been an insurmountable 3-1 series lead. And in that game, a prime LeBron James scored just 8 points total in 45 minutes on 3 for 11 shooting, as the Heat would lose 86-83 and never win another game the rest of the series. And for the series, LeBron James was just the 5th leading scorer, behind D. Wade, Dirk Nowitzki, Chris Bosh, and Jason Terry, who came off the bench and outscored prime LeBron James despite playing in 67 fewer minutes over the 6-game series. And while LeBron slithered on his shiny new propaganda podcast and talked about unlocking Chris Bosh and floor spacing being the big difference the next season,
CB had to go to the 5, and we had to spread. He had to start working on his corner 3 faithfully.
We know that the real plan was to bring on Chris Paul in that offseason, as Wade and CP3 confirmed as much on Wade's The Why podcast.
But do you remember the call with Brian, you and I, when Riley wanted to trade to bring you to Miami?
Absolutely.
You remember
we had talked for a while, too. We had talked about what the team would look like.
We started getting excited.
LeBron James is an insufferable loser who came up short far more times than what would constitute an acceptable level of failure for even a top 5 all-time NBA player when you factor in his supporting casts and level of competition throughout his career. He knows this, his camp knows it, and it is why he will continue to build platforms to try to rewrite history even after his playing days are finished. But no amount of lies and disinformation can hide the real facts if you are truly willing to look closely.